appreciate every single one of you. If you would please now join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd just take a minute for a moment of silence, please, with me. Thank you. Again, welcome everyone. Glad you're all with us this evening. We have an agenda in front of us, Council. Would anyone like to amend the agenda as presented? Or would you like to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have a consent agenda that consists of 3 items, pages 2, 12, and 13. Minutes, a budget amendment, and tax pickups and releases. Any issues with the consent agenda, or can I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second. Okay. Any discussion? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved. Thank you. We'll begin this evening with our staff reports, starting with our Deputy Town Manager and Planning Director, Mr. Wes Haskett. Good evening, Wes.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, and good evening, members of council. Tonight, I'm giving you all a report for the month of March and a couple of other items. With respect to permitting in March, there were a total of 51 permits issued. They consisted of 12 zoning permits, 24 building permits, 14 trade permits, and 1 lot disturbance stormwater management permit. The total amount of fees that the department collected in March was $18,427.33. With respect to code enforcement, there were 8 warning citations mailed for solid waste ordinance violations. Ongoing update, our land use plan update. We received 2 comments on the draft plan from state agencies during the review and comment period. That was about a 30-day review and comment period. We received 2 comments, one from the Division of Water Resources and one from North Carolina Emergency Management. They were minor, very minor comments. However, we're still waiting for DCM to provide us their suggested revisions to the plan. And once we have that, then we should be able to move forward with the public hearing. So I'm hoping that we can do this in May. We shall see. Another plan that we will soon begin updating is the Outer Banks Regional Hazard Mitigation Plan. We participate in this hazard mitigation plan with all the municipalities in Dare County, as well as Currituck County. There's a committee that consists of staff and stakeholders from the communities. We'll be meeting on April 22nd to start the process to update the plan. This must be done every 5 years. We have to update this plan and keep it current at least every 5 years in order to maintain eligibility for pre-disaster and post-disaster mitigation funding for FEMA. The effort also helps the counties and the towns identify hazard risks, understand vulnerability, and develop ways to proactively mitigate risk. There will be a public project kickoff meeting also held on April 22nd. That's at 5 o'clock. That'll be open to the public, and that'll be at the Dare County Emergency Operations Center located at 370 Airport Road. And again, I believe the county, Dare County, acquired funding to hire a consultant to assist with this process. 13 Skyline Road landmark designation. You all authorized staff to move forward, start that process. We did start that, and we put together the application and the required report. We sent it to SHPA, or State Historic Preservation Office. They have to review and comment on the application. We have to give them 30 days. So that 30-day period will conclude soon. So hopefully we'll have the application on the May 28th Historic Landmarks Commission agenda. And then hopefully you all can consider it on June 4th for designation. Won't make it in time for the flat top tour, but close. And lastly, with respect to the Town Planning Board, they're going to be meeting here on April 15th at 5 o'clock. And the purpose of the meeting is for them to reconsider ZTA 2303, which addresses lot width. And they will also consider ZTA 2403, which is a ZTA submitted by the town to establish commercial design standards. Any questions?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
Members of the council have in the past expressed a fair amount of interest in the commercial design standards. So do you mind sharing that with council at the same time that you share that with planning board?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I know there's some people up here that are particularly interested in that topic.
Yes, ma'am. I'll be glad to share it with you.
That's great. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate it. Anyone else? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Chief Cole?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. The police department report for the month of March 2024. As you can see, officers responded to 1,422 calls for service. There's a breakdown of those in the pie chart. They conducted 69 traffic stops. They wrote a total of 9 written citations and another 64 warning citations. Under the incidents, which were the crimes that were reported, we had a total of 7 charges out of that. We also had 2 criminal arrests, one for a DWI and one for the arson. The arson was a dumpster behind the Food Lion that we were able to catch the guy who did it, and he's in jail. Unfortunately, it was put out before it caused any serious harm to anyone. There were 0 ordinance violations. We had 7 reportable motor vehicle accidents for the month of March. A little bit of an update on Tucker Melton, who is our cadet that's in the basic law enforcement training academy. He's got just about 4.5 weeks or so to go. He's done well. He's passed his POPAT, which is his physical agility and all of that stuff, so he's good to go there. Their last day will be May 3rd. They're going to be doing reviews May 6th and 7th, and the state exam will be May 10th. So we ask for your prayers for that. I think he'll do just fine, but it never hurts. Annual report is still a work in progress with this software that we've kind of had to swallow. We're still, hopefully we're going to have it done before next year. So that's all I can tell you. A little bit of information, and within the next couple of months, we're hoping to bring Officer Thomas Long and our K9 Artie in and officially introduce him to everyone. But I just wanted to give you a couple of highlights on him recently. March 23rd, Kildare Hills Police Department requested a K9. He was working, and that resulted in a seizure of fentanyl and quite a bit of paraphernalia. And they were able to arrest that individual. On April 8th, Nags Head, actually Kildare Hills first, requested another K9, and they recovered marijuana and some paraphernalia. And then about 2 hours later, Nags Head requested a K9, and we obliged because he was working. And they recovered crack, meth, and quite a bit of paraphernalia was seized, and there was 2 people arrested for that one. So he's doing a pretty good job. He's making a good name for himself, so that's good. And this is great for anyone that knows anything about canines. The more they work, the better they get. So, and then just, let's see, April 6th, Officer Jason Thompson, and he was assisted by Officer Simpson. They conducted it's something we try to do every year over at the Southern Shores Realty Maintenance, where we sit down with all of their cleaners and things and explain to them what they do if they find a gun or if they find what they suspect to be drugs in that. And I've been here almost 18 years. At least 2 or 3 guns are left behind by law-abiding citizens, but probably shouldn't have a gun permit if they're going to leave it, but they do. So at least 2 or 3 every year. So we just teach them not to touch them, just to call us. We'll take care of it. And the same thing with the drugs. And it's even gotten worse because of fentanyl and stuff. I mean, if you just touch that stuff, it can put you down pretty quick. So they conducted that Saturday, April 6th. Questions?
So how many folks were there for the training?
I didn't get a number, but there was quite a few.
Several dozen, maybe?
Yes. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't know about the gun thing, not to mention
Oh,
the
yeah.
drug thing, but okay.
I was dumbfounded. I went, man, that's just. They're pretty embarrassed when they come to pick it up,
Oh, I bet.
but
Yeah.
they've got to go through a lot of paperwork just to get it back.
Just to get it back.
Yes.
Very good.
Chief, will we get a chance to meet Cadet Tucker?
Absolutely.
Good.
Yep.
And are there any plans to replicate this whole process?
Yep.
Good, I mean, it sounds like a
Cliff
good
and I
investment.
talked about that today. Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
Just one other question. Past is not necessarily prologue. I mean, all this statistics and whatever you present up here. Is there anything that you're anticipating besides summer traffic, and in the coming months that concerns you?
Everything concerns me.
Local
It's,
residents.
you know,
Local,
'cause I can always scale myself down. I always prepare for the worst.
okay.
No, we were pretty nervous yesterday with the eclipse, but we got through it. But other than that. Oh, one other thing I did want to tell you though, with this, the next academy, I've got it written down. In North Carolina's infinite wisdom, they decided timing was terrible, in my opinion. I made myself very clear to the powers to be. We had a joint chiefs meeting in Manio last week. Anyway, they've decided to increase the basic law enforcement academy by about 4 weeks. So it's going from 640 hours to 868. And I have no problem. I haven't looked at all the criteria, but if it's criteria that's well-meaning and it's going to help, I don't have a problem with that. The concern is all across the nation right now, we can't get cops. And now they're increasing it for another 4 weeks of police academy, which is going to make it very difficult for a lot of the smaller agencies. But it's not going to discourage us. So, anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate it as always. Chief Limbacher?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Report for the fire department for the month of March. We just had one lightning strike with no fire, 4 alarms, including 1 CO. Odor of smoke or smoke scare was 2, but something that I just wanted to touch upon is this is the 3rd time that the night shift police guys, Sergeant Cook and what's Chris's last name? I always forget. Simpson. Yeah, I'm sorry. They just happened to be doing their door checks and their nightly patrols and found an odor of smoke. It was about 1:30 in the morning and called us. Actually found it on Ocean View Loop. It was a contained fire that the owner hadn't put out. The resident hadn't put out all the way. And with the ocean breeze coming up, it's starting back up. So what doesn't seem like a big deal possibly would have been a big deal in the morning because it's right behind the shopping center there. So just, little kudos to those guys are out doing their job all night. But anyway, 1 assisted invalid, 3 public service, 1 service call, 1 overheated motor, which wound up being a HVAC problem, 1 motor vehicle or 3 motor vehicle accident with no injuries, 1 with 35 EMS calls, 1 brush fire, 1 vehicle fire, and 1 structure fire, for a total of 54 that month. And that puts us about 12 calls ahead of last year. So still ahead this year again this month. Any questions on that report? The only other things I would say, the mayor and I and a bunch of people went to the ribbon cutting. I thought it went very well. We are in the new station. We have our rehab team over there. They've already went out of there twice for calls. So I think it's working out pretty well. And other than a couple minor hiccups, just, adjustments for doors and things like that, I think it's working well. So,
Did they finally work through the last things to get through?
yeah, they had a couple little, punch list items,
Yeah.
but that's how it works out. So they did good. Yeah, I think it's working out well.
Good.
So, any questions?
Thank you,
Alrighty.
Chief.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. Time for our town manager.
Thank you all.
Good evening.
Just a few updates briefly for several things. First, I just wanted to touch on the process for the Southern Shores Landing wastewater treatment plant rate increases. I know this has been somewhat in the news, and y'all have, I'm sure, heard from folks that you represent from these Southern Shores residents, but two state agencies that kind of control here, the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality permits the operations and maintenance side, and the North Carolina Public Utilities Commission regulates the business side of the operation of that plant. The plant has been charging a rate of $90 a month since 2009. And recently there was a filing for a rate increase on January 12th that the commission decided that North Carolina Public Utility Commission has staff, just like y'all do, that make recommendations to you. And then the commission will either file the order or they'll have a hearing. And in the case of this rate increase request, there was the commission staff approved a interim rate, an emergency rate, because of they saw the need for the plant emergency operations. And so that rate went from $90 to $180 until a public hearing could be held. That public hearing was held March 18th. That's for, and only the customers can comment at that public hearing. It's not for general public comment. It's for the commission to hear from the consumers. The next steps from that, they'll be on May 7th, there'll be the expert witnesses will make their hearing. Will have their hearing on May 7th at 10 a.m. in front of a I think there's 11 members of the Public Utility Commission. 3 of them are assigned to this case. That will be held again May 7th in Raleigh at 10 a.m. That you can view that on YouTube. And then from there, the commission will issue an order setting forth the decision of the matter. My understanding is from the date that the request was made of January 10th or 12th, there's 180 days by which the commission has to make a final decision. And so though that is the process forthcoming, it doesn't really, it's not something that the town's able to get involved in, but I just wanted to share with y'all what the next steps of that are. The final rates won't be determined until sometime after May 7th. No questions on that. Then I'll go to the Earth Day events that are upcoming. The Southern Shore Civic Association, the Chickahook Property Owners Association and the town are all participating in this year's events as sponsors. The events will take place on April 20th and 22nd, so it's coming up. It's broken up into 3 days. Saturday the 20th from 9 to 12. Volunteers will hit the crossovers. Sunday from 1 to 5, the parks. Monday, April 27th, the marinas and tennis courts. Right now, they've got a long list of need for volunteers. You can go online and sign up to be a volunteer. As of last week, they only had 23% of the volunteers they were hoping to get. You can go to our Facebook page to find out information. You can go to SSCA and Chickahawks as well. But again, I think this is the 3rd year that we've been hosting this, having this event. Flat Top Tour, we've talked about that. It's coming up pretty soon, April 27th from 1 to 5. Tickets are available online. You can also buy them the day of the event up until, up to 1:30 at the Southern Shores Crossing. As you know, the town, the house will be, we're still getting it ready. Chief's done, I've told you before, quite a bit of work. We're going to have it painted, hopefully have it painted before the event. We got some more landscaping and things that we need to get taken care of, but we'll be ready for the 27th to host anyone that wants to come through and see what we've done, and trying to preserve but prosper with the use of that house there. Let's see, I just wanted to also share with you the Chickahawk sidewalk, the long anticipated sidewalk is now, I think it's below that picture. Sorry, I went out of order. You've seen it, it's done. There's a stretch there that we've still got to get sodded. I wish I had a before picture because we didn't move it a whole lot, but we moved it to get it off the edge of the road, and there's a little bit of separation there, and so hopefully we've accomplished what we needed to. Finally got that done. And then the channel markers have been relocated. I've been talking to you about this. I think originally I came before you, think we may have to end up dredging, but the red lines that you see there in front of you are where the channel was out to Currituck Sound. The northern 4 channel markers were moved, and now the channel follows where the green is. And so that should buy us some time. The permitting and the moving of those markers, we had to get a CAMA major permit to do that. But there was a fund that was established years ago that the town, the SSCA, and the Boat Club and Martins Point all paid into. Boat Club and SSCA now being one of the same, but there was enough money in that fund to cover the cost of this. So there wasn't any new money to get this done. And then finally, in the next month or so, I wanted to let everyone know we're going to be re-graveling the road at the cemetery. So if anyone happens to see dump trucks of gravel going down, that road's gotten in pretty bad shape, and so we're going to try and do the improvement there. I don't know exactly when that'll happen, but we're going to do that with our forces. So in the next month or so, you'll see that. That's all I got. Sir?
Is it a violation to park on the sidewalks?
Yes, sir.
Are you going to plant grass there between the road?
We're going to put some sod down.
Okay.
Yes,
All
sir.
right.
And my understanding is we're going to see if the dune needs a bulkhead or not.
Yeah, we're going to wait and see. There was some concern about out there on 12, whether or not that sand was just going to blow all over the sidewalk. If it does, we'll have to look at putting a bulkhead up there, but we're trying to avoid that cost.
Thank you, Cliff. Philip, good evening.
Good evening. Glad to be with you guys. Don't have anything to report. All I can tell you is that. That's good.
I was going to say, that's good news.
Soonest.
Yeah. So on our agenda now is time for some general public comments. I know there's at least one person who wants to talk about something that's on our agenda. So if you want to talk about it before it comes up, you're up. Debbie.
Good evening, Mayor and
Good
council
evening.
and guests. I am Debbie Swick, the creator of Banned Balloon Releases NC. I am thrilled that there is a proposal for an ordinance on your agenda. I am very proud that Duck has already accepted one and created one. With every ordinance that gets created in every town, it gives me a little bit more firepower to go after the counties and other towns. Of course, I can use it for educational purposes. Sadly, we had a young lady in Southern Shores pass away recently, and I learned that her college in North Carolina did a balloon release in her honor. So, you know, every time we create an ordinance, it gives me the opportunity to share this with colleges and realtors and restaurants, and it teaches all of the visitors, we have that ability to say, hey, don't do it anymore. I do wish that when you do consider the ordinance, that you do address intentional releases, do not allow any in any amount, and also accidental releases. Put weights on them so that they do not accidentally get away, as well as unattended balloons. Those can drift away when they're tied to mailboxes and porches and signage. They are all equally important. I do know that helium balloons do cause fires when they get into power lines. Not something that I have a lot of data on, so I don't preach on it. But of course, fires being chief's concern, I'll throw that in there as well. But I thank you very much for putting it on the agenda, and I please consider doing so. It makes a big difference. We got a big fight ahead of us, so every little bit helps. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Robert? Come on up to the podium and tell us your name and where you live. And well, if you'd like to share that.
We own a property, 96 Spindrift. That's adjacent to the parking lot. We do not rent. We're here quite often. We've been here for 11 years. I haven't been to this council before because you've done such a great job. So I haven't had any complaints. But I don't have a dog fight in this either, or a dog in this fight. I think it's a matter of safety. I have an opinion about the new building that's at the corner of 12 and Chickahawk, the size, the look. I won't get into that. That's my opinion. I'm looking at the safety aspect of it. Now, because I have security cameras everywhere, I have 12 cameras on my property. And I can see everything from the parking lot. I can see everything from 12. I can see everything from Spindrift. And I monitor those when I'm away, and very simple. I see when I'm here in the summer, which is every summer we try to stay the whole length of the summer, that there's children that come through these parking lots, both lots from Chickahawk as well. Now, I've gone to Chickahawk and I've gone to Southern Shores to ask them about the walkways and who's responsible for the safety of the children. What happens with children, which we all know, but I can observe through the cameras more than not. Again, we have no grandchildren here. They rush up to the light to hit the button so they can hear it. It used to say walk. Now it just beeps. But you can see these children doing that. Well, the issue is the new owner of the big cube house, if he's coming off of, or we're told that they're not going to rent, which is hard to believe, but if they live there, that's fine. If you come off of 12, to get into his driveway, he'll have to make a U-turn, He'll have to make a U-turn, which is naturally dangerous. You've removed the walkway that came from the Chickahawk parking lot. That's always confusing too. One's owned by Southern Shores or rented by Southern Shores, and the other's owned by Chickahawk. But whatever, you've moved that walkway away from his to accommodate him, I guess, in the driveway. So he has a circular driveway. Now, if he doesn't make a U-turn into his driveway, he's going to have to go through the parking lot, which is just as dangerous to come around, to come back out to Chickahawk. So, as I said, it's just a matter of safety. And the reason I'm here is to tell you that I'm not going to participate in any lawsuit when and if, God forbid, there's an injury or death. I'm not going to, and I will withdraw from the HOA. I will fight it. I'll do anything I can. I'm a citizen that has paid my dues. I pay them every year. We maintain our property. We don't rent. We know what the liability of that is. We particularly went to that location because we get along with everybody in that parking lot, and we let people, if they don't have permits, we let them come into our into our driveways so they don't get a ticket. I've given my name and the security information to the police department in case there's anything, vandalism or anything that happens. So we try to participate the best we can. Unfortunately, we've decided not to stay here. So we're going to leave when we can, because my son works at worked in the government in Washington, and he has decided that he's fed up, and he moved out to Colorado, and he's a farmer now. So good luck, right? So anyway, I've had my time, but again, it's a safety thing. Just consider it. U-turns going into it, and the only reason I say I can hear the ocean front, I can hear the block off the ocean. You have different groups of people to come. They unwind. They're jumping off the balconies, in the pools, playing music. We understand all that. That's why we don't rent. But and the person next to us doesn't rent. The person next to me cut 18 trees down on my property, and so he could see the ocean. And I didn't take him to court because, I'm sorry, I didn't take him to court because he was going to charge the landscaper for the fees, which was $2,500 to replace the damaged trees or put fences up. And I just decided not to do that. I didn't want to do it. The guy that has the lawn company has a son that has cancer. I just feel sorry for the guys. I'm not going to go to court. I can't find an attorney down here anyway that I could deal with, because it's very hard to find a good attorney. Not to say we don't have one or two. But anyway, I'm done with it. I appreciate you listening. As I said, no dog in the fight. I could care less what the place looks like, what this guy's doing, or what the end result's going to be. But for safety for the children, hundreds of people pass that every day, and it's going to go right across his driveway. And I understood that he was asking for a Chickahook address, and I don't know if that came to be or not. But I don't know who's responsible. That's why I thought we'd come here. And I said, you've done a great job all this time. I haven't had any complaints. Still don't have any complaints. I'm just pointing out something to you. And congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Thank you for coming to see us.
Thank you.
Hope it didn't bore everybody.
Anyone else who didn't sign up would like to speak to us this evening? We're here to listen. Okay, thanks. We'll move on to our new business. Council, we have discussion of a potential ordinance banning the release of balloons. It's on page 14. Does somebody want to lead us in this, Cliff, a little bit?
Briefly, you all obviously talked about this at your last council meeting. You passed a resolution and you asked staff to come back with some examples of what other towns' ordinance looked like. And I sent an email to, I think, just about every town, coastal town in North Carolina, and these are the ones that I got back. I also got a couple back that try to discourage people from releasing balloons through a different avenue, which is their crowd gathering permit process, something that we don't have. And I also got a lot of, hey, can you share with me what you find out? So I think there are other people, obviously, in the state that are considering the same thing. So got some traction.
Very good. Thanks.
So if you all are inclined to consider an ordinance for adoption, we'd ask you to direct that to staff, and we'll bring one back for you.
Yeah, I had one comment. All of these ordinances are very similar. And I looked at the one, they all seem to have the $250 fine, which sounds reasonable. And I talked to Philip about this a little bit. I wonder if in noting the entities that cannot release a balloon, person, firm, nonprofit, corporation, I wondered if we should add school in there. I think you could read school into it, but it's not very specific. So Philip and I talked a little bit about how we might word around that.
And I'll also point out the timer. this ordinance was drafted, references just corporation, and there are many other business entities now, limited liability companies, partnerships. And another way to address this, as Paul and I discussed, you can draft it broader.
Right.
Because this particular ordinance kind of gets into the specifics without being broad enough, hence Cromwell taking point about a school.
And I guess my other comment would be, I'd like to see us, if we adopt an ordinance, to be pretty close to the ordinance that Duck has already voted on.
Right.
For a couple of reasons. I think it allows consistency here in this little area. And maybe we could cooperate with Duck on some signage or education or that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'll encourage the other towns, if they so choose to take this path, let's all adopt something similar for a change.
Right. Any other council member comments, discussion?
How do you enforce this?
That,
With an ordinance, I understand that, but
it's not going to.
who's gonna police it? Maybe
It's
that's
a
better
civil
question.
penalty.
Yeah.
I think it's in chapter 26, so it's a police power, if I'm not mistaken. And, the last thing we want is for our police to go to the school and start issuing tickets to 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds that are releasing balloons.
Or the resource officers going up and down the beach watching people? I don't think you want that.
No,
That's what I'm
absolutely
trying
not.
to say. I mean,
Absolutely not.
I agree
think
they're a menace, but enforcing an ordinance like this is hard.
Yeah, it's going to probably
The
be
police got enough to do.
harder than the fireworks ordinance.
Yeah.
Because if that's something you want to enforce, that's a resource you got to pay to put there and
Yeah.
watch. But I'm hopeful that and I know hope is not a course of action, but I'm hopeful that, when we put an ordinance like this in place, it sends the message that, hey, don't do this. You can't do this. Please don't make us enforce this.
The greater enforcement is as more towns adopt it and Debbie starts taking the counties and state level, that there's a bit greater understanding across a broader population of the dangers of it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I like to think about, Mark, your point is well taken, but I like to think about it as just another educational tool that we can use. If we pass an ordinance, what it says is the town of Southern Shores does not want these balloons to be released for any reason because of the damage they do. And I just think you're right. Enforcement, just like with so many of our ordinances, everything from rolling your trash and recycle bins back to other things, it really is sort of like keeping your speed limit according to the sign, Chief. It's a self-enforcement for the most part. You have to choose to do what you're supposed to do, what the law says you're supposed to do.
Right.
A lot of education.
That's right.
Any more discussion, council? Questions? Is there a motion to direct staff to take action?
so move with Paula's suggestions.
We have a motion made by Matt,
Second.
second by Paula. Any further instructions or discussion? Is that sufficient? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, Debbie. It should be on our agenda for the May meeting, as I understand it. Okay, very good. Next. Public hearing ZTA 2402 at this time, which is on page 19 of your package, council. I'll hand the meeting over to our attorney, Philip, to run this public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. I now open the public hearing for ZTA 24-02, proposed amendments to section 36-171 of the town code regarding lot disturbance and storm water management. I call town staff to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Ornthal. Appreciate it. Good evening again, council, mayor, and as Mr. Ornthal pointed out, this is a public hearing for ZTA-2402. Just a little bit of background. At the February 6, 2024 council meeting, council directed staff to draft town code amendments to modernize the town code. At the March 12, 2024 council meeting, council adopted ZTA 2401 with some revisions, which included amendments to Chapter 24 planning and several sections in Chapter 36 zoning. The initial draft of ZTA 2401 included amendments to Section 36-171, which is the chapter or section rather that we're proposing to amend in this ZTA. Town staff is now proposing similar amendments because we withdrew the amendments from 2401 to Section 36-171 at that time. So tonight, you all are considering amendments to Section 36-171 that would establish that a lot disturbance and stormwater management permit is required to remove trees greater than 6 inches in diameter, measured at 4.5 feet above the ground within a front, side, or rear yard or setback on any unimproved lot in the general commercial zoning district. This ZTA also establishes the penalty for violating this ordinance should it be adopted. And I can go through all that. It is provided in staff report and in the language. But it would be an offense for any person to remove a tree greater than 6 inches in diameter measured at 4.5 feet above the ground without first obtaining a lot disturbance and stormwater management permit. And they would be subject to a civil penalty. It would be a civil penalty that would be assessed for each tree that is removed without obtaining the permit. And replacement trees would be required as well. Town staff has determined that these proposed amendments are consistent with the town's currently adopted land use plan, and we recommend approval of the application. The town planning board recommended approval for one of the application at their March 18th meeting. The board also recommended by consensus directing town staff to draft another ZTA that would apply these proposed amendments to all other zoning districts and not just the commercial zoning district.
Thank you. Mayor, I'm advised no one has signed up to speak. Is there anyone here that would like to speak? Haven't heard town staff. At this time, I will close the public hearing.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Council, do you have any questions for staff as it relates to this particular ZTA?
Sorry, I missed the last meeting, so I missed the rich discussion on this, okay? So is this just undisturbed lots? I didn't catch that in here. It's undisturbed lots, right?
Yes, sir.
Unimproved lots.
Vacant, unimproved lots.
Unimproved lots.
Yes,
That's
sir.
That's
Yes,
what I
sir.
wanted to know. Thank you. Okay, cool. All right, I didn't catch that when I read it. All right.
And it refers to a civil penalty. I did not look up that town code section. Is it delineated or?
It's in chapter 1. It's a civil penalty in the amount of up to $500
Per tree?
per tree.
Well, that would be important because if it's not a substantial penalty, people would rather pay the fine.
Get a lot of disturbance. Yeah, you gotta get a permit.
Did you consider any provision for emergency tree removal?
We did in the previous, one of the previous drafts before 2401. In this case, we figured that since they can still remove trees, they just have to obtain a permit to do it, that we would be hopeful that they could take the time to apply for the permit to remove the
I'm just
tree in the
thinking-
time frame that it's still an emergency. We can usually issue lot disturbance permits pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was just thinking storm damage, like
Yep.
Sunday, hurricane, trees laying across power lines, things like that.
Right.
But I don't want to make it so rigid you have to enforce it a certain way. But
Yeah, we did consider it, and in some of the tree ordinances that we looked at from neighboring municipalities have such provisions, but we did not include them in this draft.
it's such a narrow focus of the way it's written. I'm not sure it's a huge issue, but I'd like to see something like that worked into it eventually.
Do you have discretion on enforcing
Nope.
the civil
It says
penalty?
shall.
Or,
Yeah,
So
the civil penalty could be $50 or it could be up to $500.
Okay,
It's
so
in the
there's-
amount of up to 500. So there would be discretion in what to assess.
the
in civil
amount,
penalty.
okay. Okay. Is there appeals process at all for those?
Not that
No.
I'm aware of, no,
Okay.
ma'am.
Have you
Well,
gotten
excuse me,
any-
I take that back. I'm sorry. So if we were to issue a notice of violation, then like any decision by the zoning administrator, it could be appealed to the Board of Adjustment.
Okay.
My
Okay,
apologies.
so there's an out.
I was thinking with respect to just the fine itself, but no, the zoning administrator, my decision can be appealed. My
Okay.
decision to say that it's a violation could be appealed.
Okay.
Have you gotten any pushback from the development community who want to come in and, in essence, clear a lot? Are they going to be aware of this, or have you got any pushback? Or Matt, have you discovered any?
I don't think there's anything out of the ordinary necessarily. I mean, it's
Okay.
for a lot disturbance permit, which means preparation for
Right.
preparing the site.
Okay.
And
I have not.
it's really just notating.
You gotta have a permit.
Yep.
Yeah, plain and simple.
I haven't received any pushback from anyone in the development community.
Good.
Well, and really, this came about because we went through the special use
Yeah.
permit process, and we
Yeah.
went through that whole process of what that application looks like. Now we've gone back and just, and said, well, that we didn't like what we saw. We need more information at that point in the process, and this is part of that. So I feel like it's been an iterative, experience, but we're getting closer to where we want to be. Any other questions for Wes?
No.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Council, any discussion? Concerns? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve ZTA 24-02.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, so there are no amendments. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? ZTA 2402 is approved. Thank you, staff. Appreciate your work on that. Number 6, Southern Shores Beach Monitoring Proposal, page 29. Council, in your package. Cliff?
Hate to say this is a cost of doing business, but in the beach nourishment world, it kind of is. Every year we need to monitor the beach, survey the beach, find out where the sand has gone that we placed for the project. It makes us accountable to the public so that we can show them how the beach is performing for rather large expenditure. But I guess we have to part is to satisfy FEMA. If we ever want to get reimbursed after a federally declared storm, we have to be able to show how much sand we lost. And so by surveying the beach immediately after a storm, we can compare that to the survey that'll, if you approve this, that'll be done in the next few months. And the difference being the sand that we could claim to get reimbursed for. This is budgeted item. We budget and account for this in the capital reserve fund for beach nourishment. This is right in line with the last year's, which was, I guess, this will be the third year we've surveyed this project. Last year, it was less than $2,000. It was less than $2,000 below what it is now. So the price is right in line. The first year we did this, it was absorbed in the contract price. So we're asking for you all to approve this expenditure so CPA can start to survey the beach.
When will they survey?
May, towards the latter part, try to time it ahead of any storm. So it'll be sometime in May.
My only comment, I think Ken's already on top of this with just that they keep the surveys the same time frame every year.
Right.
And they do the other towns when they
Yeah.
do ours as well. And would also note on a not particularly cheery note, they're predicting more hurricanes this year than,
2 more.
of course, it's a prediction, so it doesn't really,
It's Colorado.
Next one.
but
It's University of Colorado. What do they know?
anyway. I did receive and talk to a resident here this week about beach nourishment, which was, I thought, odd that he picked that time to bring the topic. But we had a nice conversation, and basically, he's unhappy about certain things. But anyway, that's fine. I'm happy to hear people who are not happy about certain things. But, in this case, beach nourishment, we do these things. It is a project, and we do these things according to a standard that everyone else does when they do a project like this. And so, we have the data to back up what we say.
Exactly.
But people always say kind of the similar things, which is, oh, that sand it just disappears. It's not there anymore. And so then you have to go through this educational process of, okay, that was part of the design. And yes, the sand is under the water, but it still provides that energy dissipation, which we need when we have these big storms, particularly nor'easters, not so much hurricanes, really, if you want to think about it, but nor'easters are worse because they last for days. And we almost always have a nor'easter on Memorial Day weekend, in my experience. So anyway, I go on. Any other discussion about this particular item, council?
No, I think if you need this to be eligible for FEMA reimbursement, you've got to do it.
Okay, so we need a motion to approve.
I move that we approve the contract for the 2024 beach monitoring proposal as presented.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Very good. All right. Another possibility for public comment is anyone who was perhaps shy before would now like to speak to us? No? No? Okay.
Any words of wisdom?
Any other phone calls for Leo? No, I'm
Question,
just kidding. Council business. Rob, you want to kick it off tonight?
Sure. The current TV, we did not have a quorum to approve our submittal last month, so there's an upcoming meeting. And for those of you who don't know, the town, Sheila and Cliff were kind enough to put an icon on the home page. If you go to the right side of the home page, you'll see an icon there. That is now the current TV icon that you can go right to current TV and get, in essence, it's a public access channel. And you can get videos of any of the county efforts, any of the town's efforts, and you can stream them. The ones that we're proposing, and hopefully we'll get approval, I don't see any reason why not, is we're going to have videography for the Juniper Trail Bridge replacement at community outreach video that will be generated. Also videography for citizen information program on the effects of the milfoil in our canal system. And lastly, there'll be a video on the Southern Shores flat tops. So those will come out, and then you can access those by going to the homepage, and once they're produced, click on the icon instead of going through a whole host of different decision trees to get to the place where current TV is, okay? That's it.
Thank you, sir. Matt?
I don't have much to report. I don't know if you made it all the way through the Board of Commissioners meeting. The special meeting that we attended this morning was lengthy. Outcome related to Housing Task Force, and we'll have a meeting on Tuesday of next week, and we'll see what comes from there.
Paul?
Last Wednesday, Lee Whitley from the Historic Landmarks Commission and I went to a presentation in Elizabeth City at the Museum of the Albemarle. And it was really fascinating, and I'm sorry that it wasn't better publicized right here. But it was a presentation on Frank Stick and the kind of the origins of Southern Shores. And it was very well researched, and it was through the Historic Society here. Very well researched, very dynamic presentation. And so I've talked to the mayor and the town manager about trying to bring that here and having Southern Shores sponsor this for our residents. But it really was fascinating. You know, I've heard Frank Stick's name forever. I am embarrassed to say I had no idea he did anything besides do the flat top. I did not know all the hundreds of other things he was involved in this area. And it was just a really riveting presentation. So I hope we can do that.
Mark?
Okay, on the tour board, and you saw the article in the Outer Banks Voice, you saw where January was very soft. One thing I'm surprised at, this is my first term on the tour board, is how slow the numbers come in. Here it is April, and they just got February. So I'm not used to that. I'm used to instantaneous stuff. So, and February came in, and February was soft as well. Foretelling, well, you saw the numbers, but in January, occupancy was down 51%, meals collections was down 26%. So we actually had a finance committee meeting this morning with the tour board, and we think that this is going to be a settling year that we're going into. We're budgeting 24, 25 right now, where we might have a benchmark year. You know, the COVID years just blew everything out of the water. And there's mixed reports out there from realtors about bookings, whether they're strong, not so strong. Dollars are up, people aren't here. Well, the dollars are up, but not as many people are coming. So there's a lot of variables at work right now. In both, February occupancy was down. They didn't pass anything out, but the CFO there said it was down 17% occupancy in February. March, if you talk to anybody about March, it was slow as well. Easter was early, which had a good effect towards the end of the month. But, you know, we live on that revenue that's generated by the tourists. I mean, it is a ton of money that's distributed throughout all of Dare County, the whole length of Dare County. And so we'll see. The tourism board is spending money like crazy there. And by crazy, I mean within the budget. But there are lots of inquiries. They're hosting a lot of folks from far out of state. Like they're hosting a bus tour from Iowa here in 2 weeks. It's trip planners that are coming down. So they're reaching out farther and farther to bring folks to the county here. And Dare is quite a bit, is a little unusual in the city. The occupancy taxes and meals taxes we collect are the highest in the state. I mean, that's pretty amazing when you think about it. It has to do with the tourism that we get here. So let's hope for better times. We are looking at a small increase next year in revenue at the tour board. So hopefully that'll go along. And right now everybody's making money on interest with all these reserve funds that we have sitting around. So, but let's hope we get some more folks down here because we do need them.
Thanks, Mark.
All right.
Let's see. So a couple things. Our next meeting is a week from today. We have a workshop meeting. It's our first discussions about the budget for this year. Although we have periodically, Cliff has come to the council per our request and kept us updated. And so that's always helpful. So that'll be at 9 a.m. on the 16th, budget workshop. You're welcome to come. You're welcome to view it online. Call us, email us. Let us know if you have any comments or concerns about the budget. Current TV. So it turns out they have a project now where they're going to interview elected officials. And they interviewed me last week up at the Hillcrest tennis courts. And so I haven't seen the results yet. Can't wait. So excited.
It'll be edited.
Indeed. Anyway, no, it was fun. It's a good, very good crew there at Current TV. They're really nice folks to be around. I enjoyed the experience. It's not my favorite thing to do, and then today was the special meeting called by the Dare County Board of Commissioners that Matt referred to. And I did go to a huge portion of it and then viewed some of it online when I had to leave early. Bottom line was the commissioners voted 7-0 to return the $35 million back to the state And apparently, though, we still have a task force meeting.
Yep.
Next Tuesday. So we'll figure out, there'll probably be one of us at the task force meeting and one of us at the budget meeting. We'll figure that out as we go forward. On the flat top, on the 13 Skyline, I don't know if I've thanked Chief Cole enough, so let me do it again. Thank you, Chief, for all your work. We are going to maybe try to have a little event. And then we're going to, at least at this point, tentatively say it's going to be on the same day as a flat top tour. The tour doesn't start till 1, so we might do our little symbolic gathering about 11 that day, but look out for details about that. Where we'll invite all the Southern Shores folks if they want to come and see 13 Skyline, their new property. So look for details coming out on that soon. On that note, does anyone have any other business? In that case, motion to adjourn?
Moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.